All right, today we're going to decode a fundamental law of power that, honestly, most of us get wrong. It's all about how to ask for help, how to get what you want, by appealing to someone's self-interest, not their gratitude. So forget everything you think you know about favors. Let's get into what really makes people tick.
So, has this ever happened to you? You do a huge favor for someone, a friend, a colleague, and you think, okay, I've built up some goodwill here. But then, when you're the one who needs a hand, it's like they have amnesia. The vault is just empty. It's frustrating, right? And that feeling, that sense of being wronged, is exactly what we're going to break down today. To really get why this happens, we need to talk about something called the gratitude trap. It's this mistaken belief that our good deeds in the past automatically create an obligation for other people in the future. And you know, there is no better story to illustrate this than a pretty grim tale from 14th century Italy.
So meet the Poggio family. These guys were a huge reason a soldier named Castruccio Castricani came to rule the city. They put him in power. But, you guessed it, as soon as he got comfortable, he completely forgot about them. Feeling betrayed, the younger Poggio started plotting against him. But the family elder, a man named Stefano, stepped in. He stopped the rebellion because he believed he could just talk to Castruccio and appeal to his sense of gratitude. You know, remind him of all the help they'd given him.
And this is where Stefano's strategy just completely falls apart, and fast. He put all his trust in the power of reminding someone what they owed him. Castruccio, he listened. He thanked Stefano. He promised to be fair. He even invited the entire Poggio family to his palace to hash things out, only to have every single one of them thrown in prison and executed, including Stefano. A really brutal end for a guy who just believed gratitude was enough.
Yeah, Stefano's story is a tough one. It feels completely unfair. But see, just reacting with outrage doesn't help us learn anything. The key is to think critically about what's really driving people, especially when the stakes are this high. So if that approach fails so spectacularly, what's the alternative?
Okay, let's pivot to a totally different story, this time from ancient Greece. This one is a brilliant example of the kind of universal language that actually works in the real world. This is a pitch that truly understands power.
And you can see the two approaches right here, side by side. It couldn't be clearer. Poggio appealed to the past. He used gratitude as his currency. His argument was basically, you owe us. And the result? Execution. Now look at Corcyrans. They appealed to the future. Their currency was mutual self-interest. Their argument was simple. We can help you. And the result was a powerful alliance.
So the Athenians had these two offers on the table. First, Corinth comes in, their old ally, and they start listing off all the favors they'd done for Athens in the past. It was all about loyalty. But then Corcyrans came in, and they were brutally honest. They basically said, look, we've never helped you. We have no history. But our navy and your navy, together, we'd be so powerful we could scare the pants off your biggest rival, Sparta. For the Athenians, the Corinthian appeal just felt like a burden, a debt. So they chose the future. They chose the strategic advantage. They chose self-interest. And this is really the lesson at the heart of all this. Forget trying to make people feel guilty. Forget reminding them what they owe you. If you really want to move someone, to influence them, you have to find the lever of their self-interest. And you have to pull it. It's not being cynical. It's just being a realist.
So, the big question is, how do you find that lever? Well, this is where the real work comes in. This is where you have to do the hard thing, to push through the friction of your own point of view. It means you've got to get out of your own head and truly, genuinely understand the person you're talking to.
Let's look at a true masterclass in this, taught by an advisor named Yilu Chutsai. His target? Genghis Khan. A guy who was literally about to burn entire Chinese cities to the ground because, get this, they weren't good for grazing horses. Now, Chutsai knew Khan couldn't care less about art or culture or mercy, so what was Khan's self-interest? Pure, simple greed. So Chutsai framed his request perfectly. He said, instead of destroying these cities, why not tax them? You'll make way more money. And what do you know? It worked. Khan spared entire civilizations not out of the goodness of his heart, but because it was more profitable.
And that's really the crucial point here, isn't it? Persuasion isn't about you or what you need. It's about them. It's about doing the hard, empathetic work of setting your own feelings aside to see the world from their perspective. And you know, in a world that's constantly telling us to just think about ourselves, that kind of strategic empathy, that's a real act of rebellion. It's a real strength.
But here's where it gets a little more complex. Because assuming everyone is just motivated by cold, hard greed is just as naive as assuming they're all moved by gratitude. True mastery here means you've got to read the room with a bit more sophistication.
Sometimes what you're dealing with is something we can call ego interest. These are the people whose self-interest is completely tied up in their reputation. They want to be seen as noble, as charitable, as powerful. For these people, the very act of giving you something is its own reward because it makes them look and feel good.
This means you've got to tailor your pitch. If you're talking to a Genghis Khan type, someone who just oozes greed, you appeal to their bottom line. But if you're dealing with someone who prides themselves on their nobility, appealing to their greed would be a massive insult. For that person, you have to give them a stage, give them a public opportunity to be the hero, to show off how merciful and generous they are.
Okay, so let's bring all this home. How does this ancient wisdom apply to you, to your boss, your clients, maybe even your own family? What is the actual currency you should be using in your own life?
So here's what to remember. First, think. Don't just feel. When someone lets you down, fight that instant urge for outrage and instead just analyze what's really motivating them. Second, be willing to do the hard work. Real influence comes from the discipline it takes to understand someone else's world. And finally, find the right lever. Self-interest is always the language, but you have to know which dialect to speak, the dialect of practical gain or the dialect of noble ego.
And that brings us to a final question for you to think about. In our world, a world of algorithms and constant outrage, when you're trying to persuade someone, online or in person, what self-interest are you actually appealing to? Are you offering them something that will benefit you both, or are you just giving them a chance to feel good about themselves? The answer to that question will probably determine your success.